Friday at SkyWatchTV, and that means Sci Friday. Welcome, I'm Derek Gilbert, alongside my best friend and the author of the book, Ebola and the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, my wife, Sharon Gilbert.
Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetheart.
Nice to see you again.
Well,
I just saw you this morning.
It seemed like just moments ago.
It really did.
Boy, an interesting week in the world of science and discovery, and just one of those weeks that makes you kind of scratch your head and say, what are they thinking?
That's every day with me. That's why my hair is so short. I scratched it right off.
News this week that scientists are trying to resurrect a giant virus discovered in the permafrost of Siberia, but they're assuring us that they'll only do it after they make sure it's safe.
And how do they know that?
I don't know.
Yeah, how do you find out if it's safe unless you've actually activated it and studied it as it grows?
So what's the purpose of this? Well, I mean, what's the difference between this? Why do they call it a giant virus?
Well, because it's, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was like 0.1 micron. It's really large. A lot of viruses are really teeny, microscopic. This one you could see probably on the very first setting, if not just with a magnifying glass. It's really large, but it's not only large in size, its genome is huge.
Now, typically, how many chromosomes does a virus
usually
have?
A dozen or less genes in a, the chromosomes, that's not true in a virus. It's not chromosomes. They're organized differently, but they're usually about a dozen or less. In fact, the Ebola virus only has 7.
7?
Yeah, and most influenza viruses only have 8. So not very many, because viruses are very efficient little machines. This one has 500 genes. So what all is it doing?
Now, okay, so this is not something that they've encountered before in nature. This is something that was uncovered from the permafrost.
Well, that's not actually true. In the last 5 or 6 years, this same team has discovered several really large viruses. So beginning over the last, I say, half dozen years or so, the scientific world of virology have discovered, especially archaeovirology, they have discovered that, or paleovirology may be what they call themselves, there are so many subdisciplines in this world. You can essentially attach any sort of a modifier to the discipline and become, you can have astrovirology.
Yeah.
Because there's an astrobiology.
Right. I remember that on our podcast, PID Radio, a few years ago, we talked about something called Pandora virus, which is one of these.
Which was discovered, I think, by the same team. And it was called Pandora partly because it was so huge.
Right.
But yeah, that's a little disturbing when you talk about a Pandora virus. Pan simply means worldwide. A pandemic is worldwide. So when you have a Pandora virus, it's, okay, if I open up this virus, am I going to leak all sorts of evil into the world? That's the story of Pandora's box.
Well, this Pandora virus, they said, has, again, its genome structure is huge.
It's gigantic, yes.
And only affects amoebae. Now, this one, though, they recovered from permafrost, so that's why I'm saying this particular...
They don't know what it affects. And the fact is that you don't know, just because something only affects an amoeba right now, that it wouldn't down the road affect something else. And here's the other thing that I think is so interesting about this story. Evolutionists tell us that we went from simple to complex.
Yeah.
Well, when you have a virus that has 500 genes versus today's more simple genes, that's going in the opposite direction.
So it's losing information instead of gaining information.
Well,
because theoretically, this virus that was discovered was buried at a layer that places it on the official accepted timeline at tens of thousands of years old.
30,000, I think is what it said.
Okay, so somehow in that span of time, viruses have evolved, and yet they've lost information.
They've lost information. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to explain that one, but yeah, they want to. This team wants to activate the virus, but first of all, they want to make sure that it's not harmful to humans. I'd love to spend all the time on this, but there are other things that could be harmful to humans that are also in the news this week.
Please share.
One of those is that a Japanese robotics team in I think at the Hitachi warehouses have designed an artificial intelligence that will be the new management structure.
So
wouldn't you love to work for a robot?
Our robot overlords.
Our robot overlords, indeed.
But if it has a cute Japanese anime type face, that should be fine.
And it probably does.
So what motivated Hitachi to put their workers underneath these robot overlords? What can the robots do that human managers can't?
Well, supposedly they take a look at your ability to design new ways to respond to your workload. And if the robot sees, hey, that worked well, I will have everybody do that. If it sees that your schedule is perhaps not the most efficient, it will redo your schedule. In other words, this is a robot that actually does think.
It learns.
It isn't programmed, if this, then this. It's programmed to actually rewrite its own code.
Yeah, now this is similar to robots that were built by engineers at the University of Cambridge under the direction of a Japanese scientist, Dr. Fumiya Aida, who designed a mother robot that programmed it to build a simple robot capable of movement, and it would try different designs. And then based on the ones that were most successful, then the next generation of robots would be based on that most efficient design, and then try changes on that. So in other words, it was able to evolve.
Yes. And that's one of the dangers that we have talked about and will be mentioned in the Inhuman documentary that's going to be coming out soon, that Ray Kurzweil dreams of this moment when the singularity hits, and not only is there a sentient software program, but it actually begins to design progeny.
So we're not just, we've moved beyond the laboratory phase now. We're actually seeing it taking place in the workforce.
We need to really point, because I know some people we love.
We have friends that have phones with screen capture, so whenever we do anything that's amusing, we wind up in that pose on the internet. So,
yeah, well, who doesn't love that? Yeah, but speaking also of robots that have killer instincts, or that we have to worry about having killer instincts, because if there were, and the day is coming, I really firmly believe this, the day is coming when there will arise a true worldwide, sentient, internet-connected software program, artificial intelligence, that may be actually inhabited by a spiritual entity. We don't know that that can't happen.
Right.
So even if it doesn't, if this is an artificial intelligence that sees us as annoying, there will be all sorts of industrial robots at its beck and call. Now we're going to have one
wielding lasers and cutting torches and other sharp, pointy objects.
Yes, pointy sticks. There also will be one that's underneath the sea. Scientists have now designed what's called, I'm going to show this to you.
Killer robot to protect a reef.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
The killer robot sees starfish that are gobbling up the coral reef and injects, and those people who love starfish, Patrick, poor
From
Patrick.
SpongeBob. Yeah.
If they're gobbling up the coral reef, the killer robot injects, let me see down here, I think it was bile, but I want to make sure that I'm saying that correctly. Once it finds its target, the caught spot, which is what it's called, uses an extendable arm to reach down and deliver an injection of bile salts, which kills the starfish. This is indeed a killer robot. Now, if you have read the Avogadro Corp fiction work,
William Hertling is the author, and put a link
he's
here.
He's an insider. He knows computer science. He wrote a not very fictionalized, I think it's very faction, not fiction, that takes a look at an email program that takes over the world.
Yeah. To get a clue about what the author, William Hertling, is talking about, bear in mind that Avogadro is a term that relates to a very large number, as does Google, although Google misspells it, but it basically is telling you.
Google.
Yeah, right, G-O-O-G-O-L, but that basically was Hertling is talking about, just taking a very thinly disguised version of the Google Gmail program and showing how it could be turned into a mechanism to control the world, basically, and controlling robots at its disposal. Basically,
any internet connected or Wi-Fi Bluetooth connected, anything that can somehow be accessed online.
Right, that's internet connected.
Can be used by a sentient program, sentient entity.
And we saw that in the movie, the Johnny Depp film
Yeah,
Transcendence. where
he used all sorts of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that is a bit disturbing. And this is one of the aspects of the transhumanist movement that we need to consider. And one of the reasons that we're working on the documentary film Inhuman, which should be available by October. There are some who've actually gone to well, Elon Musk who is definitely a leader in the technology movement. He's the head of Tesla Motors, the electric car, SpaceX. They've had some trouble launching rockets lately to resupply the International Space Station, but he's still on the cutting edge of technology. And he has warned that artificial intelligence, by creating a truly sentient, autonomous artificial intelligence, we are, in his words, unleashing the demon.
Yes, and I think that's very telling that he uses that language. We have no idea how we're going to change mankind. You know, science right now is so, there are many disciplines of science, computer science, biological sciences, that right now have new techniques, like the CRISPR technique we've talked about with editing genes. Scientists are understandably excited about these new possibilities, and a young scientist coming up wants to try all of them. Some of these things are being tried in elementary schools. I mean, the kits are so inexpensive and easy, because a lot of times you'll have what's called a reporter gene, where the entity glows green. The product glows green so that you know that the new gene was inserted.
Our daughter did this in school 15 years ago.
She did.
Before CRISPR-Cas9 was invented.
Exactly, and it was a relatively, relatively simple process. That if a fourth or fifth grader can do it, yes. A terrorist could do it too.
With more complex and more powerful tools.
Exactly, exactly. There was one last story that I just want to briefly mention, and I know we're running out of time already. That is that today there was a story that has probably been the main headline at many online news portals, and it's about this new species, a new cousin to mankind that's been discovered in South Africa. This was actually discovered 2 years ago. The reason it's in the news now is because there's a cool picture that they can put with the story that allows journalists to make it more clickable. It's that a reconstructionist has actually done a model in clay of what they believe this entity, this creature looked like. This so-called cousin to mankind.
Homo naledi.
Homo naledi is not our relative. Sorry, I don't believe in evolution. I believe in creation, and I believe that what the scientists found were what looked like about 15 individuals. And I'm not saying humans or even proto-humans. These are individuals. They may well have been some sort of species of ape. Chimpanzees or something. We don't know until genetic testing takes place. And even then, because we're told that humans have a large percentage of our genome, which is the same as that in a chimpanzee, then it becomes sort of tricky. But this is being used again to continue that meme, that drumbeat to our kids and grandkids that we are nothing special.
The recreation, of course, is an artist's representation, and it will have shown you the image by the time I say this, so you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. They've made it look like what you would get if you had something halfway between a chimpanzee and a human.
Exactly.
But there's no way for us to know that this is, in fact, correct.
No,
I mean, they
the
can
truth
make some
is
guesses.
you could take a chimpanzee skull and do the same thing.
Right. In 2004, December 26th of 2004, and I remember this date very specifically, because that date was very historic. There was an article published in the Telegraph in the UK, and I'll put a graphic of this on the screen, that a researcher from the University of Adelaide, a respected paleontologist named Henneberg, did a survey of all the extant skeletons of hominins. Hominins are pre-human or human ancestors. To my surprise, because of all the, I would say, programming that I've received in my education over the years, there were only 200 extant skeletons of all of these proto-humans. If we are really descended from, where are all these skeletons?
Well, some have since then been shown to be inaccurate representations. And I won't say that they were lying, but there are some actually that have been created out of different species.
Well, that's true. But assuming you're setting that aside, his survey in measuring the dimensions of the skulls, the skeletons, and so forth, he found that all 200 fell within the standard distribution curve distribution for size and weight of Homo sapiens.
Well, look
In
at the
other words, in
variety of
article-
humans alive today.
Exactly right, exactly right. So everything from Australopithecus to Homo sapiens really should be classified as Homo sapiens.
Right.
That article got no attention whatsoever because December 26, 2004 was the same day as that giant earthquake and tsunami that killed hundreds of thousands of people in Indonesia. I mean, obviously, the news cycle was consumed with that tragedy, and rightly so.
Rightly so, exactly.
But the point is that there is that in order to get funding, it's easier to get funding for your research and for your school that you represent if you can come up with results that allow you to publish and draw attention to your work.
Yes.
So if you're the discoverer of a new species, of the next Lucy, the next missing link, your university is going to get a lot more funding from government, from private organizations and so forth, than if you're just saying, oh yeah, we found another species of human. But you know, I'm just reminded of a television commercial years ago when Apple came out with its the new line of Power Books, and they had Vern Troyer, the actor who played Mini-Me in the
that's right,
Austin.
yes.
He stands about 3'2", and then Yao Ming, who was the center for the Houston Rockets back in the day, 7'5" or 7'6". What would a future paleontologist make of their remains? You've got a fellow who's fully developed, healthy, and stands, 38, 40 inches tall, and another guy who's standing, quick math, about 90 inches tall. Two species, probably.
That's how they would view it.
So anyway, again, the reason we bring this up, this new human discovery, because the meme must be propagated.
I want to bring it up because I think it's up to parents to make sure if you're a Christian parent or Christian grandparent, take an opportunity to, first of all, make sure the child understands salvation. Study the Word with that child. Let that child know that he or she doesn't have to fear information. All of these things can be explained through the wonderful variety that the genome that God created not only can produce, but some of that may actually go back to pre-flood days when there was a huge variety of hybridization taking place because of the fallen angel incursion. So don't fear. Do not fear anything. And some of these days, one of these days, you and I need to have a long show where we actually advise parents on how they can, teach science to their kids and help prepare them for that college entrance exam or that college class where they're going to be put on the spot when it comes to evolution.
Right, and there's some good online resources as far as the Institute of Creation Research, for one, and there are others out there that are excellent in teaching that there isn't a contradiction between the Bible and science. The Bible is not a science textbook, but on the other hand, there's no contradiction there, and we don't need to be afraid of what the culture tells us is true because of science. Well, we're going on the road in October.
We are.
We need to let people know about this.
We're going to Idaho.
The 10th annual strategic, yes, 10th annual Strategic Perspectives Conference at Koinonia Institute, Chuck Missler's ministry. Tom Horn will be one of the featured speakers there, as well as Gary Stearman and a number of other folks, Colonel Bob McGinnis, who's going to be a future guest on SkyWatch TV, as well as others. Information online at koinoniainstitute.org. This is National Preparedness Month, and for your gift of $25 or more this month, the Ultimate Women's and College Students Deluxe Safety Kit is our gift to you. And if you'd like to receive some very useful tools, as well as a book written specifically for women on basic steps to take to be prepared to protect yourself, the instructions on how to give are posted at skywatchtv.com. Well, this has once again gone far too quickly.
And probably went too long.
Yeah, well,
we're supposed to be doing 10 minutes, but we never seem to do that.
No. Well, we appreciate you giving us your time, and we thank you for watching. For Sharon Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.